All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Good to see you guys. We're going to give it a few minutes just to allow, others to join. So we'll get started. And while we wait, feel free to write in the chat. Let us know where you're from, kind of where you go to school at. We'd love to hear from you guys. All right. Okay, I think it's been a good minute here. So thank you everyone for joining and welcome to the Executive Fireside Chat on your personal brand. So today I'm joined by some of our executives here at PepsiCo. We're going to be sharing, some information regarding this, but I just wanted to introduce myself to start. So I am a senior early talent representative here at PepsiCo, supporting our nurture programs. So I'm working within our campus diversity team, and lucky to be working with a lot of these students. And then I'm going to pass it now to our executive panelists, who's going to talk about, their introductions, where they're currently located, some of their work that they've done at PepsiCo, and then they're also going to share with us their favorite PepsiCo product. I'm going to sneak mine in here. It's hot Cheetos. I've loved hot Cheetos since I was in middle school. No shame. So yeah, fun fact for me. So I'm going to pass it right now to Erica Grundish.
Hi everyone, I'm Erica Grundish. I have been with PepsiCo for 15 years, ever since I graduated from the University of Texas in Austin. Go Longhorns, if any of y'all are from Texas. I'm currently a Senior Metro Market Director Designate on the Frito-Lay business, but I actually started on our warehouse delivered brands, so Quaker, Tropicana, and Gatorade. Spent about 8 years on that business, then moved to our DSD beverages business. And then, like I said, at the beginning of 2022, moved to Frito-Lay. So I've been across all parts of our food and beverage business, and all in sales. So primarily national accounts, calling on Safeway, Walmart, Sam's Club, and Kroger, and then now leading the Ohio team for Frito-Lay. So great, excited to be here to talk to all of y'all, and looking forward to a great panel.
Thank you so much, Erica.
My favorite product is also Flaming Hot Cheetos. Flaming Hot Cheetos and a Pepsi Zero is nothing better than that.
Exactly. Oh, yay, love that. Well, thank you for that introduction. So now we're going to pass it to Donna Levine to tell us a little bit about herself.
Awesome. Thank you, Dora. Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be here. I'm Donna Levine. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the Director of Product Development for Breakthrough Innovation in the Gatorade Performance Portfolio brands. So Propel, Gatorade, Evolve, and Muscle Milk. I will say my group has the best group in product development because we do a lot of the big bets and high complex projects in the group. I've been in PepsiCo for 7 years. I am located in Chicago area, and my favorite product is actually one that we will launch next year. But if I have to say one product in the market, I will say Ruffles Lime and Jalapeno. I'm originally from Mexico, so that's a really great product for me. I love it, and I look forward to talking to all of you.
Nice. That's awesome. No fear. You get to know what's coming up, so that's pretty cool. So now we're going to pass it to Marlo Williams, who's going to tell us about her.
Awesome, thanks. Hey everyone, my name is Marlo. I am originally from New York, but I'm now based in our office in Plano, Texas, which is right outside of Dallas. I've been with the company my entire career. Started as an intern while I was an undergrad at the University of Pennsylvania, and have been here full time for a little over 11 years now. Always in marketing. So similar to Erica, I've had the chance to work across different parts of the business, both beverages and foods, different types of brands, and different marketing experiences. Right now, I'm currently the marketing director on Doritos. So getting to work on really fun and exciting projects like our Super Bowl ad, which will be coming up in February, Solid Black, which is our purpose-driven program, focused on amplifying Black voices and other initiatives. So looking forward to chatting with all of you. Oh, and my favorite PepsiCo product, that's a really hard question because I love so many. I'd start my day with Quaker oatmeal. I love popcorners and bubbly on the beverage side. So 3, can't choose one.
All right, those were good choices, Marlo, on the healthy side as well. Pretty good. Well, thank you all for introducing yourselves. So we'll get right into it about personal branding. Sometimes personal branding can be confused with your reputation. And while there are various definitions, your personal brand is who you are, what you do, and stand for. So the values you embrace and live by, and the way in which you express those values are your personal brand. And it allows you to showcase your unique background. So it's pretty much what makes you stand out. And ultimately, for you to build a reputation, you want others to know, what do you want them to know you for? So some of this can be shown on social media platforms, like LinkedIn, places where you can share who you are and market yourself to peers, professionals, colleagues, professors, recruiting managers. And it's very useful when you're looking to find an internship or a job, building your network, creating an elevator pitch, and much more. So with that said, I know it was a long definition for personal branding. With that said, I'd like to ask our panelists how they built their own personal brands. So can you guys share maybe some of your values and how you showcase them in the work that you do and online? We can start with Mark.
Sure, no pressure at all. I'd say how I've approached my personal brand has evolved as I've progressed or advanced my career over the years. I'd say starting out as an intern or as an entry-level analyst, I wasn't as focused on my personal brand as I was on making sure that I was delivering strong performance and also gut checking, like, was this work that energizes me? And I think as I reflect back on that experience being so junior, having what energized or motivated me personally align with what the company thought was important helped me ultimately find what my personal brand was and continues to evolve into being. And I think that's also something to be aware of, like how your personal brand may start isn't necessarily where it's going to be. I think your values, a lot of your core values will remain the same, but we're all human. We're allowed to evolve. We're allowed to learn and change perspectives along the way. In terms of my personal brand, as I reflected on like this question and kind of my experience, I think the 3 things that have really always been constant for me are authenticity, not so much for myself, but ensuring that I'm creating space for other people to show up authentically, empathy. So I've always been passionate about putting myself into other people's shoes and understanding different perspectives, where people are coming from, being curious about different cultures. And I think that had a large role in me actually coming into marketing as a profession. And then impact. Another reason why I came to PepsiCo was really focused on the scale of our business, the reach that we have with the brands that we have, and just being really conscious of that positive impact that we can have. And so I think those are the things that have kind of defined my personal brand as I've progressed. And that's shown up in different ways. First and foremost, it shows up in the work. And secondly, I think it shows up, as Dora was talking about, on platforms like LinkedIn, and ensuring that I'm communicating that in a way that resonates with my peers and other people that might be interested.
That's good. That's great. Thank you for sharing. And I like the point you made about your personal brand changing sometimes as you evolve. And that's something we're going to talk about much later. So thanks for bringing that up. We can go to Erica now.
Thanks. I love what Marlo said about how, in the beginning, I'd like to say I was organized enough to think about my personal brand. But honestly, I tried to just show up and do my best and make an impact and deliver performance. But I think as I've grown and evolved, started to think about really what made me special or what I brought to the teams that I was and the people that I was working with. And so tried to be, what I love about PepsiCo is that I've always felt like I belong here, right? We make a space for people to be their authentic selves. We are a hard charging group who loves to win, right? We are competitive, but and so if that's not your vibe, maybe people who self-select out. But I think in general, we like having a common cause and purpose and working towards that. And so for me, I think about my personal brand, one of the words that comes to mind is optimistic. I always believe that there's a solution that and that we can find it. And how do you bring, different groups together when you're trying to solve a problem, whether that's cross-functional groups, whether that's the customer and PepsiCo, and you're trying to make our goals align. But I always think that there is a possible solution. And so that sometimes can spark some extra creativity, because we don't just stop, right? We have to pivot and find a way to make it work. And then with that too, I think my other, piece, I would say, of my personal brand, or something that I'm really proud of, is perspective. I think about the word perspective. Like I said, I've been across different parts of our business. I've called on multiple customers. I started out in Dallas, lived in Northern California, Chicago, Arkansas, and then I'm currently in Cincinnati, Ohio. And so, moving all those different places, working with so many different groups of people gives you different perspective about, how people interpret, your actions or PepsiCo's actions or what we're trying to do. And I feel like that has really expanded both my possibilities and what I can bring to, the organization. And so, when you combine that with the optimism, with the belief that we can always find a way, I feel like that's something, when people know when I come to a team, I can energize them to find, creative solutions. And so that's sort of how, the evolution of when I think about, okay, what am I good at? And then how does that translate to, what the value that I can bring to PepsiCo or to whoever I'm working with, has sort of helped define my personal brand. And then when I think about sharing it, I honestly don't walk around going like, hi, I'm Erica and I'm optimistic and provide perspective. But I like to think that it shows up in the way that I find, again, to contribute to the teams that I'm on, to the ways I celebrate success, the ways I help bring in inclusivity, right? Other groups, whether that's, again, cross-functionally or other genders or other races, when you think about building the best teams and integrating that. And social media, I do have a LinkedIn profile. I'll be honest, I'm not really great about it. My platform tends to be Instagram or Twitter, but places where, again, I think you can show up and kind of show who you are. And, maybe for better or worse, my profile is public, because, I think about showing, I want anyone to be able to find me and see who I am and what I'm about, right? I don't have anything to hide. And so, again, whether you choose to share or not, I think that's even part of, personal brand. Some people aren't into social media, and I think that's okay. You don't have to be either. And that just all kind of folds into your brand.
That's good. Thanks, Eric. And especially your point on perspective, because if you're thinking one way, it's going to be hard for you to really get far. So for bringing that up. So Donna, please tell us a little bit about your core values and your personal branding.
Yeah, absolutely. So I resonate a lot with what Marla and Erica have said so far, because as we start our careers, there is a sense of what you have to do and how you can come to work and demonstrate yourself. And then you start building those values and that understanding of what you're good at as you grow throughout your career, right? So for me, it was very interesting because I started in a quality role and I was in a plant and dealing with a lot of male partners. So I had to show and demonstrate that I could get stuff done and I could do it really well and I could go above and beyond. So that actually was what started building my own brand in terms of how to get things done, do them really well, and then how I could bring a benefit to it. And as I started really going into R&D, because that was a quality role in R&D, I started to really understand where I was really good at. And I think for all our members here, they will start learning what they're really good at and what they're not really good at, and how they can leverage that and those strengths as they grow in their careers. For me, it has evolved significantly. I think in general, yes, R&D, research and development. Thank you, Jamie. So for me, it has evolved a lot in terms of what do I stand for? And what I would say is reliability. So you will know I will be reliable for you. I will get things done. And for leadership, it's really important, because sometimes it gets a little bit hectic, but then they come like, oh, Dana knows how to get things done. So we'll do more of that. And sometimes they could get difficult, right? So it's also important on how to say no and where you put your limitations and your boundaries to ensure that you don't go too far on your work-life balance. The next one is really to give value to the organization and the company and our consumers and customers. So in general, wherever I am, I try to build a value on what I'm doing. And how do I do that is, how can I improve X process, or how can I make this work better? And something I was able to help our organization in beverages was to build a group of associates in the L6, L9 levels, which is, junior associates, to share what they think about our culture, and they are the pulse of the organization. So I help them to build that pulse and really help us understand how we can build a better culture. So that is one part of how to build value for me, and it has been significantly great in terms of how I can help the organization. So in all, reliability and building value has been the two key areas for me to build that personal brand.
Sounds really good. And I love how you all said different things. So that means there's so many things that you can use to make up your personal brand. That's very important. So, there are those who are just getting started with creating their personal brand, and they may have some difficulty in determining how they want to represent themselves. This is especially when every person holds multiple identities, labels, etc., in their lives. So what do you recommend they should do first? And anyone can answer in any order.
I think it's helpful, you start writing down, start just blank piece of paper and start writing down words that maybe either you like to think of yourself as, or people have told you about yourself. Because I always think that's an interesting perspective. Sometimes how we think we're showing up is maybe not how other people perceive us. And sometimes too, other people can notice, right, what we'll call like a hidden strength, something that you're really good at, that because you're good at it, you don't know that you're good at it. And so I think that that's helpful, but start just with a piece of paper and write all those things down, and, spend some time with it. It doesn't have to be a lot, maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour, and just kind of reflect. And after a while, I think you'll start to see how some of those words kind of group together, or you start to be like, man, I really am this, or I really want to be this. And I think that helps define, what you think about yourself can be what you project out there. And so that helps. Or even, if you can't think of words, right, go around and ask, you'll be like, hey, what do you think I'm good at? Some family, some friends, some trusted advisors. And I think you'll start to find themes or patterns that you can build off of to create, what you want your brand to be.
That's good, Erica. Thank you.
Yeah, building off that a little bit, I totally agree, Erica. Having a sounding board of peers, mentors, family, friends, who can share their perspective on how they perceive you as showing up, what your strengths are, what your opportunity areas are, is incredibly valuable. I think another thing that's been helpful for me is there's never been like one person I wanted to be like when I grew up, but there were different types of people that inspired me for different reasons. And so reflecting on them and kind of noting what traits in them like I aspired to have or to learn from, to be like, I think has helped me as well.
Yeah, last one for me to add is, building that own self-awareness. because to what Erica and Marlo have shared is asking others their perceptions of you, your strengths and opportunities will help you to bring that self-awareness to a foundational understanding of where you're really good at, where you need more opportunities. Sometimes we are faulty of our own perception of thinking, I'm really good at this, right? I'm really good at basketball, but honestly, I know I'm not. I realize I'm not until, my friends tell me, yes, you're out of the group because you're not that great. So I think that own self-awareness will help you understand and build that own perception of yourself and how you can improve on things, right? It doesn't mean that not being good at one thing, you won't be good at it forever, but you have to build the muscle in it and build it a little bit more than just your own strengths.
That is such a good point. Yeah.
So one other thing I thought about too, if you're too scared to ask people yet, one way you can also start is by Googling like a Myers-Briggs test or an Enneagram test and kind of taking those, because they'll call it spit out a personality profile. And I think even going through that, then you can go take that to someone and go, hey, wait a minute, I didn't think I was like this, or is this what you think it? And it can also provide some of that perspective of, the things that are great about, your personality type, but then also how that might show up in other ways that people might not love it. And that can provide some of that perspective if you're too scared to ask someone to start with.
That's a good point, Erica. Those personality tests are very helpful. And as Marla has mentioned earlier, you tend to evolve. So it's important to take those at a certain amount of time as well. So maybe you've taken it in 1 year, and a few years from now, you may want to go back and take it as you grow. So I really also like what Donna said about self-awareness. So just, make sure that you are getting that feedback, as all the panelists have mentioned, from your coworkers, your friends, family, immediate group, so that you can grow and understand your personal brand. So everyone has their own strengths as well as things they want to improve and learn about. So that's what we kind of just discussed. But how do you articulate your strengths and areas of growth in your personal brand effectively? And anyone can answer.
I think for me, one example could be if there's an opportunity for you, if there's a group effort, right? In school, you may have some tasks or projects to do, and showing your strengths in that group, as maybe you like to set the agenda and you like to lead. So maybe just doing that and setting the agenda and bringing the group together can show those strengths in a very indirect way. Or taking notes as a teammate and saying, hey, I'm putting all these notes together, who does what, sort of thing. So from a project management standpoint, you may show that you're representing those skills. Or even in planning, right? There might be, I have a peer who loves planning events and he's really good at it. And he always jumps and say, hey, I have this idea and I have this. So bringing in ideas to the table can help bring those strengths to the table without really just saying, hey, I'm really good at this. You really have to demonstrate it as you are in a project team with your family, with your friends, work, or even school.
Work-wise, I categorize my strengths and opportunities into 2 buckets. The first is like functional expertise or experience. So as a marketer, what are my strengths and what are my opportunity areas? So for me, for example, that may be something like creative development. So working with agencies, working with different partners within PepsiCo to create an ad campaign is an experience and a strength that I have. Whereas an opportunity area is launching an innovation in partnership with R&D and other commercial partners. So that's one side. And then the other side, I think, is that leadership experience and more of those intangibles in terms of how are you collaborative? Are you a self-starter? Are you comfortable with uncertainty, et cetera? And I think one of the things that's helped me understand and communicate effectively communicate my strengths and opportunity areas is tying that to what the place I'm working at or want to work for cares about. And so as you're looking at exploring different careers and exploring different companies, be aware of how companies themselves are talking about their mission, their vision, their core values, their leadership values. I think that can give you great perspective in terms of how to position yourself in terms of strengths and opportunities.
That's good. Thank you, Marlo. So let's move to the next question. I know some of you have touched on this already, but what questions do you ask yourselves when crafting your brand so it accurately reflects your personal and professional identity? Let's go to Erica first.
Sure. I think the question I ask myself is, what do I want people saying about me when I'm not in the room? Hopefully good things, but right, what do I want them thinking about? What do I want them to remember? How do I want them to feel? And so I start with that, and then I back into, okay, now then what traits do I need to demonstrate, right? To Donna's point, like, it's not about, you know, again, what your intentions are, it's how you're actually showing up, it's in what people can see. And so I think about that, like, it's not enough for me to say I'm fun, right? I actually have to go out and do fun things or create fun experiences for the group. So when I think about my personal brand, I start with, how do I want people to feel? What do I want them to say about me when I'm not in the room? And then I back into, again, the traits that I would do that. And then how do I actually demonstrate those, you know, in my everyday interactions or in my interactions with those people.
Good point, Erica. Thank you. Marlo or Donna, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I have one to add, which is sometimes when you're starting a new role, a new job, or you have a new manager, I usually ask myself, what is their expectation and what do they expect from me to deliver? And sometimes I can guess, of course, there are observations that we can make, but many of those usually are easier to handle or assess if you ask the questions directly. So don't feel afraid of asking those questions directly on driving understanding of what are the things that you need to deliver and what the expectations are. Because that then you can craft your brand in terms of what we just discussed, in terms of what your strengths are and your opportunities. And watch outs too, right? Sometimes going into a new role, a new brand in PepsiCo, it's such a big company that it is always like starting over again every time. And I think the culture that you are coming into is very important. So assessing, observing, understanding what people value in that organization, in that culture is extremely important for you to be successful, because sometimes you will have to flex your style. Being really good at celebrating, let's say, being really good at project management may mean one thing in the beverages organization versus the foods organization, or it may be very different in the sales organization versus in the finance organization. So that is one of the things that as you build your brand, you will have to flex how you show it and how you come across with other people.
That's a good point. Thank you. So I know we've touched on LinkedIn earlier. It's a very important professional profile. And if you're listening to this call now in the audience, and you don't have a LinkedIn profile, please, 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 after this, create one. We highly recommend it for you. And so I want to ask the panel right now, what do you suggest people do and avoid sharing when they're updating their LinkedIn and other professional profiles? We'll start with Martha.
Sure. Even though I have a LinkedIn profile, I'm not that great at updating it as frequently as I should. So my old role is actually still on my profile instead of my new role, but that's fine. I would say in terms of LinkedIn, a few things like build your network based off of where you aspire to go, the types of fields you're interested in, companies you're interested in, et cetera. If you're reaching out to somebody that you don't know to build your network, add them to your followers or whatever. It's always helpful, I think, if you don't know them, to send a note to them to contextualize why you're reaching out and why you want to be connected. You went to the same college as them, or you're interested in the same industry, et cetera. I think that really helps me decide who to connect with. Follow different networks and companies that align with your interests and what you're trying to do career wise. There's a ton of great resources there. I'd say, like, personally, I use LinkedIn more to learn about what's going on in the industry, what different leaders are thinking about in their perspectives versus building my network at this point. But yeah, those are just some of my thoughts.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a good learning tool as well. They have so many different tutorials and videos on how to do, even creating your LinkedIn bio. They even have a tutorial on that. It's a great point you made, Marlo. Erica or Donna, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, at a minimum, right? You can use it as your resume, right? To track the different experiences you've had, use the action words, what results you've been able to get. Even if you're still in school, some of those results may not have been at an actual workplace, but it could be a different school campus group, or something that you're involved in that you generated impact for. And so kind of at a minimum, you want people to be able to, if they're looking you up, to kind of see what you're about. And so, think about those things that you would want someone to walk away knowing about your experiences. That said, right, it is a professional platform. So when you think about what not to do, right, you want to share more of your experiences and things that you would want someone you work with to know. Probably not the place for like your beach pics. But you can certainly say, like, hey, I went on vacation. You can share a gorgeous sunset or whatever. But maybe it's not you on the beach, right? Or different things, right? Think about these people, like that, again, in theory, these are the people you're going to be working with someday. So what do you want them to know or to see about you, right? So, videos highlighting your accomplishments are awesome. Again, picture something really cool. Think too, sometimes though, about when you're thinking about what to share, is it proprietary or confidential? Right? You don't want to share. LinkedIn is public, so you don't want to share anything that maybe you're not allowed to. So you may have to work with some people around you to say, hey, is this okay? Can I share this picture? Can I share this result? But just be mindful of that. But to Marla's point, there's a ton of great people you can follow. Look to see how some of the people you admire, how they show up on LinkedIn. Those are always good examples to emulate. And then, you're in college, or, just out of college right now, there is probably no other place where you will meet so many other like-minded people. So take advantage of that, add them to your network now, because you never know, whether as you climb the ranks, whether you will need a job opportunity that they might know about, or you'll be hiring people, and you may have friends who either know someone looking for a job or who themselves are looking for a job, and you're like, oh yeah, we worked on that group project together for marketing class. Absolutely, come, you should apply. Right? Like, take advantage of the network that you've built now to kind of formalize that, because you never know when you might need it later.
Thanks. Thank you. Okay, so you kind of also mentioned this previously, Erica, when talking about storytelling with LinkedIn. And everyone has a unique story to tell. Some people may be the first to earn their bachelor's degree, or some people may change their major or their career a lot, which when I was in college, I changed my major twice. So I've definitely been that person. So how can people use storytelling when creating their own personal brand around professional goals, accomplishments, and skills? Let's go to Donna on this.
Yeah, so I think, and I have to use storytelling more for sure. I think one of the key items that you want to think about is they always, at least when you go to a training, you always are told, okay, think about you're in the elevator with the CEO and you have 30 seconds to introduce yourself. So you have to make the impact. What are the things that you want that person to know about you? And the CEO might be different to the potential future boss, right? So again, it's going back to flexing yourself on what the other person needs to know about you. It might not be the same thing over and over. So in terms of storytelling, think about what the other person wants to know about you, and also use that to your advantage to build that about your accomplishments, your goals, etc.
That's a good point. Thank you. Marlo or Erica, do you have anything to add on this?
I don't think I have anything to add. I think Donna summarized it really well in my perspective.
Yeah, I agree as well. So I want to hear from you all. Actually, we'll start with Marlo since you come from a marketing background. What are your favorite personal branding tips? I want to hear from all of you.
Personal brand tips. I would say, for whatever reason, I think in terms of threes. So know what your 3 core values are and gut check them often. Like, do they still resonate with you? Are you still energized and aligned with them? Do they align with where you're working and what you're doing, etc.? Gut check often. And similar to Donna, like, always be prepared to give the elevator pitch and think through the elevator pitch based upon different audiences. I think are my 2 pieces of advice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say one of mine is your brand can change. Just because it's one thing today doesn't mean that that's what it has to be forever. And which is, again, both good and bad. But if you think about, hey, again, what is it when we talked earlier about the self-awareness and defining your personal brand, it's probably figuring out what is your brand today, and then what do you want it to be, and how do you make those step changes? So you think about this a lot in terms of like your mindset. So again, let's say if I want, my personal brand to be, Erica's a really smart risk taker. Okay, well, now I have to start thinking about, okay, what does a really smart risk taker do? How do they show up in that situation? And then, we talked about it, but continue to perform, to do those things. And then other people will say, hey, you know what? Erica's a really smart risk taker. And bam, you've changed your personal brand. Where before, maybe it was, hey, Erica's really cautious and she never makes the call. You can change that, right? So once awareness is the first step, then thinking about, what do you want it to be? And then just asking yourself, hey, how would this type of person show up? And then do that. Or if you realize, hey, I'm not comfortable doing that, all right, you may not have picked the right personal brand, right? Just because it sounds cool, it may not be authentic to you. And again, what I think is great about, the world and certainly here at PepsiCo is that you're allowed to be, again, being a cautious decision maker is also not a bad thing, right? Like, because someone sometimes has to hold you back from jumping off the ledge. It's about, again, what you can contribute, because you'll never be really on your own. You'll always be part of this broader team. And so it's what you can contribute to that team that, you might have to pull down the ambitious risk taker and pull them back and kind of be that balance, in the group. So I think, again, would say is you can change your personal brand and then really think and act and try it out, because it may not be, the right one for you. It's got to be and feel authentic for people to really believe it about you.
That's a good point on authenticity. So thanks, Erica. Speak again, you brought up the points to my next question. We talked a lot about how your personal brand can change. So if I'm someone, I've presented myself the type of way, I've been reliable, I've been, committed, and I want to maybe change my personal brand, change my career. How would I go about that? So how can it be adjusted when I'm presenting myself to new people or networking for professional development opportunities, or as I move into different positions at work?
I guess for me, it's so as a woman, and I will say it, we always doubt ourselves, right? With own confidence on, can I do this new job? Can I try this new thing? And men are super confident in general, right? They're like, oh yeah, I got it. So there is one book that I love, which is Break Your Own Rules, which is about women, right? Where we put ourselves a lot of stigma in terms of how we're raised and cultural biases too. And there is one rule that says fake it till you make it, which is it's not about faking it that you don't know how to do the job, but at least it's about trying and how to figure out how to move yourself out of your comfort zone. And fake it till you make it means try all efforts to ensure that you can do that job and that you can do it and build that self-confidence, and you will make it. So it's out of that, how do you get out of that comfort zone to find new people, networking with others that you don't know about? Having this session, I've never met Marlo, Dora, or Erica, right? So how do you put yourself in situations where you actually are able to learn new skills and new ways of modifying and flexing your own ways of doing things?
That's good. Thank you, Donna. I know you mentioned a book earlier. Who is the author, or can you share that with us in the chat for anyone interested? Okay.
I'll put it in the chat. I need to find the authors because I can't remember.
Okay, thank you for that. Marlo or Erica? Anything to share on this?
No major builds for me. I mean, I think it can be hard to change your personal brand or to change like roles or career trajectories once you're on a certain path. And I think to Donna's point, like having a diverse network, learning from different types of people, building relationships with different types of people helps. Faking it until you make it and stating out loud to different people, I'm a strategic thinker, because you want to be known as a strategic thinker helps, so long as you're also demonstrating that in your work and making an impact in that way in your work. And then I think to that point, like faking it until you make it and stating those strengths out loud in terms of your personal brand, parts of your personal brand that you might want to pivot, understanding who of your mentors or your sponsors might have the biggest microphone to amplify those messages is also helpful. So again, knowing your audience and knowing how they can support you and changing your personal brand is helpful.
That's a great point. Well, I just wanted to mention that some of our audience are members of our Smile Scholars, our PepsiCo Foundation, our Kickstart Leadership Program. Just wanted to shout you all out, and we're so happy that you guys are here. And we really want to make sure we can, bring you guys into the PepsiCo family. And one of the things we want to talk about today is our employee resource groups. So at PepsiCo, a great way to showcase your personal brand is through our employee research groups, which I'll use as ERGs. Maybe Jamie can help me put that in the chat. So ERGs at PepsiCo are designed to help our associates find community and acceptance outside of our immediate teams, and also learn how to be allies with marginalized communities. For example, we have Mosaic for our Black associates, and Adelante supports our multicultural Hispanic and Latinx associates. Since you all are members of at least one PepsiCo ERG, Can you share a bit of your experience getting involved in attending their events and initiatives and how they've helped you?
I can, oh,
Go. You can go, Marla. Go
okay.
for it.
I can start. So, I mean, being a Black woman, employee resource groups have been a huge resource for me throughout my career here. And honestly, being a part of an ERG like Women of Color or Mosaic was the first place where I got leadership development experience before actually being able to get it on the job. And it was also a great way for me to meet folks from different functions, different parts of the company, as well as get exposure to senior leadership when I was more junior. And I would say I've been involved in them in different capacities throughout my entire career, whether organizing networking events for women of color to help recruit more diverse talent to the company, working on diversity recruiting at HBCUs from an internship perspective, or most recently leading our MLK celebration for Mosaic, which is the longest running ERG event at the company. It's been going on for over 30 years now, and it's a huge celebration that's company-wide to honor the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. And so I think ERGs have been just an invaluable resource and have helped to energize and motivate me throughout my time here.
That's good, Marlo. Thank you.
I totally agree with you, Marlo. I've been part of Women of Color as well, Women in Network. And while it's not an ERG, it's Society of Women Engineers, where we put all our STEM women in there. And I feel like I've gotten complete different skill set of soft skills and how to network with others through these ERGs that I probably would have not gotten through my regular project day-to-day job. So it's a safe space where you can fail, right? And nobody's gonna, say, oh, wrong or bad. At the end, it's a great learning experience where I have built new skill set and new friends too, where you're just passionate about the things that you want to do and the values that you have to create new ideas, build new cultural waves in our PepsiCo system, and help others to thrive in this space. So I really, really love it.
Yes, I would agree. It's motivating to be around like-minded people who are, energized. And as Marl has mentioned, you can even get leadership opportunities through these ERGs as you take on positions, and then also serve the community. There's just so many things that come with being part of an employee resource group. So, Erica, I wasn't sure if you wanted to add anything to that as well.
Oh, sure. I would say what I love about the employee resource groups is it helps you build your peer network. Especially, we talked about self-awareness and having that group that you can kind of bounce ideas off of. And Donna mentioned the safe space, right? Like you have your team, right? The team you're a part of, and the group, but sometimes you may not want to ask them the question that you feel like is maybe a silly one, or you want an outside perspective, or even I've met a lot of peers cross-functionally that way. When I lived in Chicago and worked in that building and went to, Women of Color Adelante events, like I could meet people who were in supply chain or who were in finance or in marketing. And then later we'd be on a project together and it'd be like, oh, wait, like I already know you. You've already built a relationship, outside of, the day to day. And sometimes that helped us break through when, our functional relationship maybe would have been a little bit more strained. And because we already knew each other and knew how each other worked. And so I think it's nice, a huge advocate when we talk about networking, you always think about networking up, but I'm a huge advocate of networking out and building your peer network, again, to build that perspective. Because what I love about Marla, Donna, and I, like we're in three different functions. And I bet if you asked us, all the same question about a product, we would all give you completely different answers about how we think about it. but that's really cool. And if I always learn something in those situations. And so you get to build that and get exposure to people that you might not have a reason to interact with on a day-to-day basis. But again, it's also nice to sometimes, that there's other people like you in the room, in maybe the broader room, maybe not the exact one that you're in, but that like, oh man, I can go ask this person, hey, is this right? Is this normal? Is this, what I should expect, or how should I think about this? And too, and I've loved then now becoming a more senior leader, being able to, what I feel like, give back to some of the younger, the more junior people in the organization, and pull them along, or be like, hey, I know we work together on this now. Hey, I've got a job opening. Would you want to apply? And being able to share that impact, I think has been a really cool thing.
That's great, Erica. Thank you for sharing. Like you said, it's so important, because without these, sometimes you wouldn't even have access to some of the people that you do through these resource groups. Well, thank you, ladies, for everything you've shared so far. I wanted to see, though, are there any final thoughts or insights you wish to share with our attendees? And if we don't, we do have a few minutes. So I want to make sure with Jamie, if we have a few minutes, maybe we can take 2 questions from the audience, see if there's anything specific that they would like to know.
Yeah, we can take some questions in the audience. If anyone wants to go off mute, say hello, introduce themselves, and ask their question, or if you feel more comfortable putting it in the chat box, feel free to ask our panelists away. What do you have in mind?
Hello. All right. Let me take I was driving, but I had to pull over. I've been listening to you all and doing my homework and stuff like that. But I really enjoyed the message from everyone today. My name is Ashley Moncrief. I'm a business finance major attending the University of Illinois at Chicago, so UIC. My question was specifically for Marlo. Due to me listening and hearing, like, I heard that, you said, you mentioned being a Black woman in workforce. And my question was, what was the strongest barrier that you think you had to overcome with being a Black woman and attendant of, and, taking an offer like Pepsi in comparison to so many jobs you could have taken?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's a really good question. And I would say, I hope that the challenges that I had over 10 years ago are different from challenges that you may encounter as you enter the workforce. But one of the reasons why I chose to come to PepsiCo was twofold. First, my family bled blue before I even knew what that meant from a Pepsi standpoint. And it was because Pepsi was one of the first companies to truly treat Black people as equals in terms of hiring them for white collar jobs, advancing them to executive level positions, showcasing us and our families the same way that they showcased white people and white families in advertising. So that legacy, plus at the time seeing a woman of color in the C-suite, really inspired me to want to join. And I think in coming here, one of the challenges that was more, I guess, introspective than any external force was really figuring out how to show up authentically as myself, as a Black woman, as a Black person, especially given some of the things that we've been going through over the last several years with racial and social injustice, how to show up, how to communicate my point of view while being in a corporate environment. And I think I've been able to successfully do that by using my personal brand and my core values kind of as my compass throughout the entire time that I've been here, especially since my role in marketing is, focused on advertising, focused on how we communicate our brands to reach diverse types of consumers, diverse audiences. And so I'd say like the biggest barrier was really being confident in being authentically myself. But thankfully, I had mentors throughout my time here that helped build that confidence over the years.
Thank you.
So in the chat, looks like we have a question from Pamela Samuels. What are your recommendations for entering into internship opportunities while you are still in school? For example, seeking internships for the summer.
Reach out to Dora. Connect on LinkedIn with Dora.
Yeah, that's a good point. As Marlon mentioned, since we're going to be using our LinkedIn's now to promote our personal brands, make sure when you're coming to these events, it could be a networking or career builder. Make sure that you're making these connections. Add me on LinkedIn. Add whoever you've seen here today. Add them on LinkedIn and reach out. Say, hey, it was really nice to hear what you had to say about personal branding. I hope that we can be connected for the future. So that is a good point, Marlo.
Yes, I was saying that somewhat joking, but also serious. I think 2 other things to consider. If you're in college, reach out and become friends with people who work in your career services office. They'll be a great guide in terms of pointing you in the right direction to internships, companies, networking events. And then 2, if you're in college or have recently graduated from college, reach out to alums that are in your industry or in the types of roles that you aspire to be. I went to Penn, and I'll always take a call from a Penn grad or Penn student. And I think many alums feel that way about their schools and other affinity groups. So I'd suggest that as well.
All right.
Yeah, I would say definitely add all of us on LinkedIn. I also have jobs and internships that I would love to fill with people from this group. So and then, yeah, absolutely take advantage of that, because, it gives you some opportunities to try different things, to practice your real world skills. And then when you go, to interview for the big job, you at least know, hey, I did this and turns out I didn't like it, right? I tried category management or insights, and that really wasn't my bag. Or, man, I thought I was going to be a finance major until I did a finance internship, and that was not what I wanted. And it gives you that time to pivot before you end up in a career that may not work for you.
That's a good point, Erica. Thank you. Oh, I'm just going to take one last question. I have like 2 minutes left. This is from Tracy. So I don't think I have a lot of funding to build my brand. Are there any creative avenues or ideas to get the ball rolling?
I don't know that you need as I say, I don't really know that you need funding. I think we put the links to the free tests that you can take. A lot of the social media sites you can join and create free profiles. I think that's always a good place to start. And then again, it's a lot about how you just show up and interact with people in your everyday life.
Yes, agreed. And I'm forgetting the names of the websites, but there's lots of websites where you can make a free website for yourself, cards as well, business cards. There are a lot of resources out there. Well, thank you all for your questions. Thank you guys for attending. I know some of you guys were leaving school or work to make sure you were here. So we really appreciate that. And thank you to our panelists as well, who stayed after their work hours to make sure they can share some knowledge with us. We thank you guys for everything and for your time. If that's all the questions that we have today, we'd love to see you guys on the next Fireside Chat, and hope you have a great night.
Thank you. Good night, y'all.
Bye.